All right. Today, AI agents, did you know AI agents won't fix your business, but if they're used correctly, they can remove friction fast. Today, we're talking about AI agents without all the hype. How to use Zapier and Make to create real leverage in your business. We are Nate and Simone. We talk all things marketing. And before we get started, I want to invite you to subscribe to this channel so that these messages can go out to more people and more people can see it and learn and yeah, and help them to boost their business, to break through that growth ceiling that they are possibly in. So let's talk about it. Today, we've been hearing a lot about AI agents. We're hearing a lot about generative AI over the past few years, and now the talk is all about agents and how they can like boost the productivity and save you so much time, and but what are they really useful for? Let's talk strategy around AI agents, okay? Hey Nate, let's get started. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. So you pronounce it Zapier. I've always struggled with this. Is it Zapier, Zapier? At one point, I thought it might be Zapier, like it's French or something.
But,
But
um, you know what I think? I think we need to probably hear somebody who works at the company
yeah,
pronounce it.
yeah, yeah. Well,
Because
anyway, however you pronounce it.
yeah, um, it sometimes like we'll be pronouncing something the same way, and then we realize like the person
Oh
themselves, they'll
yeah,
pronounce it a completely different way. Like
yeah.
Rihanna, everybody says Rihanna, and I think she pronounces her name Rihanna.
Oh, Rihanna. Wow.
Yeah,
Wow, that's shocking. Yeah, I
yeah.
would have thought Rihanna. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting. That
So
reminds
there
me,
you
Rihanna is closer to the was it the Fleetwood Mac song Rhiannon? Anyway,
go. Hmm.
I don't know. Anyway, all right.
So,
So yeah, AI agents. 2026 is supposed to be the breakout year for AI agents and AI in general. From what I've been hearing, all the hype is this is the year. It's going to be huge. Um, all of these AI companies are building data centers all over the nation. By the way,
mm,
incidentally, a little bit of trivia here for you regarding this. Did you know in the state of Indiana, 50% of our electricity in the state of Indiana is now going to data centers?
wow,
Yeah,
50%.
50%.
Oh,
Interesting, huh?
wow.
We are
So,
the
but
number
nobody's
one.
suffering from lack of electricity in their homes, though, right?
Not yet.
At least not yet. Yeah.
But
When
but
when the
we
lights
are
start going out and we
uh,
start having brownouts, then we know we're in a bad position, okay? And the data
yeah,
centers were
I
taking too much.
precisely. I talked to a guy who works in a company where he sells generators, and he's pretty thrilled about this. He's pretty
Oh, I can
pumped
imagine.
because he thinks he's
Yeah.
going to get a lot of business soon. So so anyway, yeah, uh, very interesting bit of
I
trivia
feel
for
like
you.
if you have land to spare, put some
Yeah.
solar arrays and some wind turbines on that, and start leasing it out to these
Yeah.
companies that need all this power.
Yeah, it's interesting because people, and I don't want to get too into messy politics and whatnot, but a lot of people in Indiana are up in arms over solar panels, solar power. But
Oh yeah.
the we are the number one state in the nation right now for data centers. So go figure. Anyway, anyway,
Mm.
okay. So, how do these kind of fit in? That's part of what we're going to talk about here with the AI agents. How does this fit into the V3 growth system and all that? So, just at the outset, visibility, right? Consistent execution
Mhm.
without your manual intervention, right? You're out there, and this thing is operating on your behalf, doing these things that you have set it up to do. It's almost like another staff member. Viability, right? There's fewer drop balls and less dependency on you as the founder. And then, of course, you potentially are increasing your business value because it's documented, certainly, in whatever system that you're using to generate the uh, the AI agents, right? It has to be documented. It's there visually, like there's no getting around it. And then there's, of course, automation, automated workflows helps increase durability, efficiency, etc. Who wouldn't want to buy a business like that, right? So that's the way I see it. Um, but like I said, there is a lot of hype, and we need to kind of strip that away and find out what the heck this is all about.
Hey, we
So
need to find out like where does this actually really belong in your business? Um,
Well,
how
what
is
what
it
is
really
what
useful?
is an AI agent? So let's start there. What is an AI
Okay,
agent?
that sounds good.
Uh, at its bare minimum, it is a system that observes an input. So you are creating a little system, and you have some kind of an input, and it's similar to if you've ever operated inside of Zapier, or Make, which we're going to show you some examples later on about this, but it's somewhat similar to an automation, right?
Mhm.
And in fact, your automations can call upon agents as part of the automation, and that's kind of getting into more advanced stuff. Um, I saw a video. I'll just interject this real quick. I saw a video recently of the past Google CEO, um, Eric. Oh my gosh, I forgot his last name.
I think Schmidt, I think is
Eric Schmidt, that
his
guy.
name. Yeah.
He was saying he foresees a future of um, agents for agents, right? Like these groups of agents that are tasked
Mm.
with completing um, very complex tasks. In which point he thinks that that is where we get into really dangerous stuff because then they're out there in the world actually interacting with things. And anyway, so
Well,
um,
it's interesting because we've had like if you look at Samsung has this what they call smart things. Um, we've had these systems, and there's some people who are living in smart houses and all that kind of stuff. We've had these systems. We've been living with these systems for a while.
yeah,
It's really, but they just haven't been as prevalent, and they also haven't been accessible to us. Like the tools haven't been accessible to us as just regular people to
yeah,
create with them. They've
yeah.
been they've only been accessible to, maybe multi-million-dollar corporations and
And
like
therefore,
the
up until
military.
now, right, up until now, they've been relatively contained, right? So
Yeah, but
that's
right.
where he
Once
was
you
getting
give
nervous.
access to the public, now
Yeah.
you've unleashed the headwaters.
So
Um,
anyway, it is a system that observes an input. It applies rules or context that you give it, and then it takes an action without a human intervention. That is what it does, right? Up
yeah,
until now, like an automation does something similar, um, but there are certain limitations to an automation, right?
it
Automation,
doesn't have as much thinking capability as far as an automation. I always look at automation like the train, right? You give it, you
yeah,
put together the instructions and the tools and the actions, and the automation does the delivery.
yeah, yeah, exactly. You're putting it on the tracks, right?
Yeah,
And turning it on, and it just goes.
and it just goes.
But an agent, there's a certain level of, you could say, conditional decision making going on there as well, based
Yes,
around the criteria that you have given it, right? And we'll
right.
get into examples later on to kind of illustrate the point. But inside of Zapier and Make, you can actually create these advanced automations, if you will. I guess maybe they're advanced automations. Maybe that's a better way to look at it, think of it. I don't know. But anyway, Um, and similar to an automation, you have a trigger, right? That is the input, and then you have a system of rules, things you have a prompt that tells it exactly what you want it to do, and then you're kind of telling it what the outcome is that you're going for. And during the course of its completion of this automation, this agent can find different paths to help it complete. And that's where the conditional decision making comes in, that an automation cannot do. Automation is one path, right? Unless you build in filters, right?
Right.
But it's very rigid in that regard. But an agent is figuring out other paths on its own, and that's
Okay.
a
It's
crucial
making some
distinction.
decisions. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm.
So anyway,
Hmm.
automations are another maybe the way to think about it is that yeah, so automations are just moving your data from one location to another, and an agent actually makes decisions along the way. All right. So tying that back into the V3 system here that we're talking about, right? Your agents can help, having an agent in your business doing the things for you can help relieve some of that decision fatigue because it's making some of those decisions on your behalf, right? And having systems in place obviously reduce cognitive load, help to free up memory and other resources and your mental resources for other things so you can focus on being strategic, for example. Okay, where these actually belong in your business, we kind of mentioned that. We can get into that a little bit here. Um, so I think, since this is new for the average Joe out there, just trying to figure out how in the world they're going to implement this in their business, there's ample opportunities to kind of go down the wrong path here, I think, and really get bogged down very easily. I know from
Yeah.
experience, like it is quite the rabbit hole to go down these things. And once you start getting into, you're like, oh my gosh, I can do that. I didn't know I could do that. That's amazing.
I think
Um,
there's uh a lot of us can get caught up in the trendiness of it and the,
yeah,
oh, you need to use this right now
yeah,
because if you don't you're going to be left behind, and
yeah,
there's all of that, but we really have to stop and think, okay, what is it that we're actually doing? Because these tools, if we use these tools to actually help us in our business rather than just, oh, this is a trendy thing, let me focus on learning how to do this rather than trying to make it trying to or maybe making it like trying to fit into some a place in your business that maybe it doesn't even belong,
yeah,
um rather than looking at the whole picture and then seeing how it would help make particular processes work better, work faster, work more seamlessly.
yeah,
um, then I think that would be,
yeah. You really
there's a
need to
danger
have
there.
you really need to have a goal in mind. You want
Hmm.
this thing to accomplish something for you that so that you don't have to think about doing that thing, whatever it is. But if you are uncertain about what the goal is on the other side, you're going to have a hard time creating something that's actually going to be useful for you. Okay. Think about it
Yeah.
like that, I guess. So you need to be certain about the outcome that you're looking for first, and then kind of work your way backwards, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and ideally, this is fitting into a certain slot in your business where maybe it's like some kind of a repetitive task that you otherwise don't want to do and nobody else wants to do it.
Yeah.
Give it to
Or
the
that
the the
you
automation
don't
as
have
a
that talent or that gift in your
yeah,
business yet that may be needed and
yeah,
necessary. I know for me, like design work is just hard. I don't like doing it.
yeah, yeah. So some example areas that you might consider are if you have like lead intake, all right, and you need to route it to someone. That's a way to do it. Um, I know that Zapier has built-in lead router now as part of an automation, which is sort of like it's sort of like a it's a module that basically does, you're essentially building an agent at that point, but it's sort of like, you know, you don't have to think about how to make that happen. Zapier's already fixed that for you, and you can just
Mhm.
drop it into your automation in that case. But there's also helping you prioritize who to follow up with based on the information in an email and whatever context the agent has about the lead.
Mhm.
So that can be extremely valuable. There are some tools out there right now, like a CRM that I can think of is Atio.io, where it bills itself as being a automation first, like it's specifically built around automations
Mhm.
first. Um, and it has built-in functionality where it has its own video recorder, like meeting recorder, so that whenever similar to what we're doing here, you have a meeting, it will automatically transfer the video and transcript into the CRM, and the AI analyzes it and gives you, and you can kind of prompt it too inside there, but it's essentially like if doing what an agent would do on your behalf. You can set up an agent to
Mhm.
do the same thing, in other words,
Yeah.
and kind of create a prompt that says, "Hey, help me to figure out, all of these people that I've talked to today. Who do I need to follow up first? And that kind of thing."
Okay.
Different ways you can take that, but if you want to notify somebody internally or and send them a summary of a meeting, that's a good thing an agent can do for you.
Mhm.
And I think you said design. Well, content repurposing is kind of in the same vein, right?
Yeah,
Um,
true.
you can have AI agents that um, help you to do that kind of thing. I know that there's like ways that you can kind of string together different apps inside of Zapier that'll do something similar, right? And that would be an automation. So there's the lines are blurring, I think, but anyway, those are kind of some things to kind of jog your imagination a little bit.
Mhm.
What you don't want to automate are decisions related to your strategy. I don't think that would be a good idea. It really that's going to require your brain power. But see,
Mhm.
here's the thing: delegating, creating things like agents, automations helps you free up your mind so you can think strategically, right? You don't want to
Perfect.
delegate that. So,
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, because then you end up having the AI basically tell you where you should be going,
And the
and
AI is just going
overall what
to
you should be
say
doing.
things
It's
that it's just going to say things that it thinks you want to hear.
right,
You
right.
know?
It's built to make you feel good,
Yeah.
and there are times when you shouldn't be. It shouldn't be telling you, oh, just do this. It'll help you. It'll make you feel good. When really you need the hard truth, like things aren't going well, and you need to pivot.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't automate your positioning. Don't automate figuring out your positioning. Now that being said, using AI to help come up with um, ideas for positioning, sure,
Hmm.
great idea. But
Yeah, you
ultimately,
can feed it your strengths and your weaknesses, and
yeah,
what your SWOT analysis. Feed it your SWOT analysis, your weaknesses, your strength, the threats and um, opportunities out there, and what you have, and then have it like help you to come up with some ideas. Well,
yeah,
it based on what you fed it. Oh well, then it looks like you have base, you differentiate yourself. You can differentiate yourself in these ways. And,
hmm,
then you can decide from there on out, okay, well, I'm going to choose this as my position or that as my position. But the AI can give you some ideas on that.
yeah, it can definitely.
It
But
can't tell
you,
you who you are because ultimately it's
yeah.
about who you
hmm
are,
It's
right?
going to require your input. There's no way around it.
Yeah.
Um, and then anything that requires a human, and in fact, Zapier is promoting the fact that they have what they're calling uh, what is the term human in the middle. So
Hmm.
you're bringing inside an automation, it will notify a human at a particular point if it needs a human to come in and make a certain decision, which is
That's
smart,
good.
right? You,
Yeah, that makes sense.
there are certain things that you do not want to delegate to and leave it up to chance, with an automation. Now, we said earlier that agents, are doing decision making on a certain level, but
Mm.
we're not talking about advanced, strategic decision making here. It's more like the AI can't find a certain path to do research on YouTube for you by going directly through YouTube. So instead, it does a web search and then finds a YouTube video that way. That's what we're talking
Hmm.
about. Okay. It's not, what do we need to do to improve our sales in the third quarter based on these certain parameters? You can feed all that into AI and it can spit out ideas based on that in the context that you're providing. But ultimately, you don't want to leave that entirely up to AI, at least not yet. Maybe sometime in
It's
the
not
future
time for the
that'll get
machines
there.
to take over
Yeah,
yet.
yeah, we're not there. We're not there yet. Um, so if we tie this into the V3 system, as far as visibility is concerned here, your visibility is defining what matters to you and having an AI that, again, working back from the goal, right? What do you want to get as far as visibility is concerned? And visibility also applies internally to the company as well, and to the stakeholders, right? Does everybody have the information that they need? How is AI helping with that, especially when it comes to doing things like notifying people and giving summaries and routing the leads and that kind of stuff, viability. Um, Obviously that determines what can run without you. And so, is this thing actually helping create viability in your business by being this solid, dependable system that you can count on, right? Or is it kind of creating more mess and chaos than it really needs to? This is something that you're going to need to evaluate and test out, to figure that out for sure. Okay, so let's look at the next round here. Get on with it here a little bit. Here we're going to talk a little bit about some practical examples inside of Zapier and Make. Um, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen inside of Zapier. Okay, so this is my agents page inside Zapier. And I don't know if we need to have rights to this, but I'm just going to assume not. This is a friendly, show and tell. When you get into the agents page, you're going to see when you click on this, the new agent button, that there are already a ton of templates available. So you can, this is after a phone call or a video call with someone, it can add a proposal to the proposal request to the CRM and send a FYI on Slack, in this case, for example, if the conversation, the individual requested a proposal. Okay, it'll notify the appropriate individual in that case. And you can substitute the systems in here. Right now, um, it looks like it's got fireflies.ai, so you could change this into whatever meeting recording tool that you're using, like we're using Fathom. Slack, maybe I use like Google Messenger, right? So I would substitute that in there instead. So it allows you to do that kind of thing. But the structure, like the bones, are already there for you, and you can just kind of swap out the tools that are being used in that case. This is a one that I use. It's called Follow Up um, Assistant. So actually, I don't use this one precisely, but this is somewhat similar. Add a proposal request to the CRM and send it FYI on Slack. So that's it's basically the same thing to just accomplish two different ways. This is a follow-up email based on the transcript. For some reason, the title is the same. So I use my Fathom recorder, right? And I've tuned my own prompt here. When I have a Fathom meeting or a recorded meeting with somebody, it sends out the fact, it notifies the agent that there's a new transcript. The agent gets the transcript and it reads it and then creates an email based on that, based on what I have prompted it here. And I have prompted it to think about it from building a relationship standpoint, right?
Mm-hmm.
Building that relationship and furthering it and how I can take it further the next time. And that's the goal that I've given it there, right? And then it creates a draft in Gmail just like this and puts it in there. Now, the draft is the key. It doesn't send it automatically. So this is where we're getting,
Yes,
you need to
right,
have a human in there, right? In this case,
right.
to make sure that everything makes sense, and that's saying what you want it to say.
Absolutely.
Highly recommend that. But the cool thing is here, right? This is simpler and smoother operating than trying to figure out all the different steps that you need to have in an automation to accomplish the same thing,
Yeah.
right? Um, so like in an automation, you would have to, once it notifies the Zap that there's a new transcript, you would have to put that transcript into a folder on your Google Drive, for example, and then you'd have to have another step that goes and finds that transcript, and then another step that puts that into the AI inside of Zapier. You see what I mean? Like it's helping
Mm-hmm.
skip several of these steps. You could accomplish the same thing through an automation, but it would just be a lot messier. This is actually anyway, I could go on and on this, but there's some really good, really helpful things that they've already got set up here. I'll show you one of mine here. So this is one that I'm using where it's when I get a new contact in my email automation platform, it takes their email address and business name and then looks up their company online and does all this research for me, so I don't have to do it. It looks for their job title, industry, state, region, city, country, number of employees, annual revenue, website, any other emails they may have, and it puts it into their particular profile inside of my email program. So I have all this information there. Now, sometimes it doesn't find it, right? And you can see here, this is a tool that it's using is just to visit the website and do a web search, right? So I don't have to have separate automations that tell it to do all of these things. It's just doing this because it's been given the instruction to do it. So it's doing it autonomously, right? It goes down through its list here. Do I have the job title? Do I have the industry? Do I have the blah, blah, blah? So yeah. And then it pushes it all into my my email tool there. So that's pretty cool. I'll stop
That
sharing
is
now.
cool. It does a lot. Okay. So I guess it's my turn is it my turn for show and tell?
Yeah,
So
show and tell.
so this one I've gotten started using Make. And this one, and I guess you could say this is more of an automation than it doesn't do too much decision making necessarily, but it's also a follow-up system. So I record all my meetings in Fathom, and so I have this connected to my Fathom, and I filter on the sales calls that I have, and then send that transcript over to ChatGPT. ChatGPT creates I put a prompt in here to create a response email, um, and tell it, give it the transcript, and then I have it email me. So, and like you, I don't want it to send the email off to the person directly. I want it to email me the email, and then I will check it, make sure it sounds right, make sure it sounds like me. Um, and you know, I put add maybe my little special sauce to it, and then send it off to the prospect. And it makes life easier. I don't have to think as hard or think as much about, oh,
Oh yeah.
okay, and one thing I love about it is that it's based specifically on a transcript of the conversation I had with somebody. So the email can be very, very specific about
Yeah.
what it is, uh, about, what they talked to me about,
Yeah.
um,
Oh yeah. This
which
is the
which I love.
key
It's
advantage, right? Like you can
Yeah, we're
this is
not
the
sending
magic
out
of
generic stuff
yeah,
anymore.
it's highly personalized, highly
Mhm.
personalized.
Highly personalized,
You
absolutely.
couldn't I mean, if you had told me um even 5 years ago that we'd be doing this
Mhm.
automatically, I'd have told you you're crazy. I mean, this is unbelievable. How fantastic is this, right?
Yeah.
This is like one of the things I had like this. How I had talked to one of my clients here recently, and I was like, "So how many people are you meeting a week, right?" And he's like, he started counting it up, and it was like at least 25 people a week. So that's
Mhm.
25 of these emails that he wouldn't necessarily have to think about making because
Right.
this tool's already made it for him. Maybe he's going in and just doing the tweaks and refining and then sending it out, but the majority of the effort is already taken care of.
It's already done.
I
Yeah.
mean,
And it
wow.
saves so much time.
So how much
And
time
it
is that
does
saving?
free up
Yeah,
mental bandwidth to be
yeah.
focused on other things. So,
And
um,
folks, we are just scratching the surface of these tools. I mean, this is like the bare
yeah, they
minimum.
can do so much more. Right. They can do
Yeah,
so much
yeah.
more. Actually, Nate and I, before we got on here, we were kind of contemplating whether we should maybe even create an agent kind of live and in person with you. But
Yeah, if
then
you
we
want to see
decided,
that,
yeah,
let us know.
well,
Let us know.
maybe we'll do that on a different episode.
Yeah.
But yeah, if enough of you want it, then yeah, we'll do it because we were talking about having it analyze what we've already done and come up and put together an outline for us, for a future episode based on the past performance,
Yeah.
and just have the AI do the analyzing, and then come up with the formula for us,
Yeah.
um, and just kind of create it on the fly. But
Yep. So in that
one of the
case,
things I run into is that we have to have all the connections in place.
mhm. Yeah,
So
that's what I was going to say. Like the goal in that case would be to, create an outline for a podcast or discussion, right?
mhm,
And the agent, you could, once the agent got started, then, it's doing the looking at our, the YouTube channels, our respective channels, figuring out which one is doing well, because you have to tie it in. You can actually give access rights to the agent if you have the login to your YouTube channel. So it can go in and actually see the analytics that you can see, right? And then and then it would be informed as to what videos are doing well, and then make recommendations based on that, create the outline for you, do the research that it needs to do, right? Like we're like this, we were kind of like, oh yeah, why aren't we doing this? Like, because
why not?
I went through and tried to figure out I sat down and figured out the entire process of that I go through to create, these episodes and all the stuff that I do. And it's a lot. It's a lot. There's a lot of time involved. There's a lot of different little steps in there. And
Yeah.
one of my goals is to try to figure out how I can automate as much as possible to reduce the load on me, and therefore
Yeah.
reduce the cost of time, right, and lost opportunities in that case. So yeah,
Yeah, because we want to be doing the things that the strategic things that only humans can do,
yeah,
and eliminate a lot of the admin day-to-day tasks that have to be done, just so we can have the episode out as normal, but still be able to accomplish more things, other things
hmm,
that we want to do. And
yeah,
the where the podcast isn't affected,
yep,
but it's still giving, but we're still delivering good content.
yeah, oh yeah, 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 yeah. This is going to require the human intervention to make sure that the outline makes sense, right, and all
Yeah,
that. But the majority of the work will already be done. It's just a matter of fine tuning and tweaking at that point, you know. Um,
absolutely.
so anyway, some other ideas to take into consideration are things like lead qualification agent. So you might have somebody submit a form or they go into your CRM and then the agent, and this is like a hypothetical. I haven't actually built this, but just kind of giving an idea. Maybe the agent could assess their fit based on certain criteria that you give it, right? So it does the
Mhm.
research about the business and the context that has been provided through the form, the entry, right? The information they've given you. They could tag and route it or escalate that appropriately based on, what it determines. You're getting
Or
a,
give
a
you a good
faster,
score, give you a,
yeah,
a lead score on that
lead
on
scoring.
that particular on that particular
Yeah,
prospect too, you know?
that helps
Like,
you to prioritize who you're keeping in contact with, who you're following up
yeah,
with, and where you're spending your energy, right? Um, you end up, getting better conversations that way too. So
yeah.
another one may be to follow up um, on, certain things. So maybe the agent gets an email or a CRM activity. The agent goes in and figures out where or which conversations have stalled, and then
Mm.
maybe it'll send out a reminder to you, maybe it's analyzed the context around that individual and the kind your conversations with them, and it's able to give you ideas on next steps to take. Imagine that. Okay.
Mhm. Yeah, the AI you can set up the AI to kind of help you determine like when a human should get involved. Whereas,
Right.
the AI is managing most of the process, but maybe a prospect or your lead, your client isn't maybe they went on vacation or they forgot or everything is landing in spam and they're not responding to your messages. And well, maybe the AI can determine like, well, we've we've tried multiple times and this person isn't responding. Well, let's get a team member involved and have that team
Yeah.
member contact this person because their process isn't moving along the way it should be.
One of
You
my
can have the AI make those
one,
kinds of decisions.
one of my favorite things about using Fathom Note Taker is
Mhm.
that it uses AI to analyze a transcript right inside of Fathom
Yeah,
and provide you various report outputs and summaries. Great, right?
yeah, it's
Problem
really
is,
cool.
is that you have to go in there and actually create these reports and then figure out what to do with them right from there. And that is, a step, that can get kind of annoying,
Yeah,
but you
unless you have an
could
agent
you could have an agent that does that, right?
that does that
Um,
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
So the agent could um, analyze the transcript, create a summary, create a report around that conversation, but then it can look for patterns too. This is something that
Yes.
Fathom can't do,
Hmm.
right? Fathom is not going to be able to show you patterns based on other conversations.
Right.
So yeah.
Mm.
And it could flag you on risks or opportunities even, right?
Yeah,
So
that's true. Based on the patterns.
that could be a magical use of an agent. So if we're tying that into the V3 system, right? You're creating visibility because you're getting a better signal, less noise, right? Your viability is improving because you're executing without all these bottlenecks that have previously existed, and you're increasing the value of the business, therefore, because again, you're creating systems, right? And it's a system that can actually scale. This is the crucial thing because in theory, as long as you're within the usage limits, right, of whatever platform you're using to for the agent execution, the sky's the limit in theory, right? Um, there are different limits in that regard. So yeah, I
Yeah.
encourage you to check that out. But there are, it just kind of depends on how much you're willing to pay in that case, I guess. But okay,
Hmm.
so let's see here. What else next? We got
So we're looking at um, making sure that these agents, the agents that we create, they fit into our businesses seamlessly, and they don't create more problems, right? We don't
yeah,
want we don't want to be creating AI agents that actually create more problems than they solve. We want them to solve the problems that we have. So,
yeah,
as a leader in our business, there's some questions that we should ask ourselves, right? What decision are we trying to remove? There are sometimes when we get decision fatigue, or we're making decisions on stuff that we don't necessarily need to be involved in day to day. We can delegate those decisions to an AI agent, and have the AI agent make those decisions, based on not taking into account, like having it make positioning and system decisions, or strategy decisions, but we want to make sure that they can make those day-to-day admin decisions that we don't necessarily need to be involved with for every single one, right? um, what outcome is the agent going to be supporting us with, and then what part of our business, what V3 pillar is it strengthening for us? Those are questions that we should be asking ourselves. Yeah.
yeah, and going back to you know ways that an AI agent could make more problems. Um, if you're unclear as far as what outcome you want it to achieve, then you could actually be amplifying your own chaos. So if you don't have a clear workflow, right, you're basically automating something that's broken, you know. And
Mhm.
yeah, you might successfully create something that, does something on repeat, but if it's if the outcome is uncertain or if it's creating something that has mixed usefulness, maybe it's actually just costing you more money to create a bunch of garbage that you could probably have done on your own. But
Yeah.
another thing here is that if you have anything that's uncertain, right? If the outcome is uncertain and you're not clear about it and it's not necessarily something that is repeatable, then if you automate that, um, you could just be again contributing to that chaos. You need to have that human in the middle, right? To for the judgment, the strategy, and all that kind of stuff. And maybe you're just creating it to just create it,
Mhm.
or it's the outcome is creating some type of a novelty, like maybe you're
Yeah. Oh,
creating an
like this would be
agent.
cool. And
Yeah,
you end up having a nice new toy in your business, but that's
yeah,
not actually functional, not actually helping anything.
yeah. So ultimately thinking it through and having a goal, I think is going to be key there. So, all right.
Yeah.
Let's see here.
Some mistakes that we want to go over. Um, building agents before defining your workflows. So
Yeah.
make sure you know your processes before you decide you want to build an agent around it or automate it. Automating broken processes. I actually had this experience with a client because um, I thought I knew the workflow, but there, and maybe I didn't ask some of the most crucial questions, but as we were building out her automation, new scenarios just kept coming up and that we hadn't accounted for. And so we'd have to start over and update it and change it, and it actually took a long time to finally get all the information and make sure that our process, the process that we were automating was actually the process that was solidified. It accounted for all the scenarios and all the decision points that we needed to make sure we took account of. Um, and where we can finally deploy the automation. But yeah, if the process that workflow isn't defined, it's gonna take a while, and then you'll end up deploying a broken agent before it's even started. So um, having broken processes that you're trying to automate is not a good idea. I know from experience.
Yep. Yep. Basically, if you can't explain why it's there, then it shouldn't exist, right? It shouldn't be there. Um, that's what it boils down to.
Yeah.
All right. So quick recap. Your AI agents can should amplify the structure in your business and not the chaos, right? So you've thought it through, you know what the goal is, and you know why it's there. Um, Tools like Zapier and Make they're just tools, right? They're not a magic button, so they're not going to magically make your life better. It's still going to it's still going to require thoughtfulness, thinking things through, being clear on what you're trying to accomplish, what is the outcome that you're going for, and then the path to get there, right? And
Mhm.
then I can't tell you, like it's funny. I'll just throw this in there real quick. I recently got a tool that where I can map out the systems and processes that I'm using in my business, and I intend to use this for clients. But it's great because I was able to see that there were a couple of useless automations I had set up in Zapier that or they were like redundant. And I was like, oh, this is costing me, in Zap runs every month
Mm.
that it just doesn't need to happen. So I was like, okay, X that out. So yeah. Um, uh, Anyways, think also strategy first, right? Your system's second, and then agents are last.
Nice.
So you need to have these things in place before you get to the agent. Okay.
Right.
That's the key.
And
Yeah.
define your goals and where you want to go and how you expect to get there.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for being with us today. So here's a bit of homework for you. Identify a workflow that should not be determined by your memory and map that out and then determine how you're going to automate it. Whether you're using Make, Zapier, some other tool, but make sure that it fits into the strategy of your business before you
Yeah.
decide to jump on the automation and the AI agent train. Okay, so subscribe to this channel. If you learned something today, let us know. Put it in the comments below, and let us know what you learned and what you're doing with AI agents. We'd love to hear about it. And also take our growth ceiling assessment. If your business still depends too heavily on you, we'll tell you, what areas should you maybe need to kind of come away and build some systems around. So what we want to let you know today is that AI doesn't replace leadership. It really should reward the leadership. Thank you so much for being here with us today. We'll see you next time. Bye.
Bye. Mhm.
Okay, and we're clear.